Need something? Well then, so long. Hello.
I trusted only my fists. If you wish to reach transcendence, you must beat out the path with your own knuckles. Which is why when my fists began to tremble in anticipation, I listened. It was as if they whispered, "A terrible future awaits these skies. Fail to act. An unprecedented calamity will befall you." How could they know? In truth, they knew more than most scholars, having experienced the rigors of fundamental aesthetic practice. I tempered them relentlessly, so they could foretell which timeline would lead them to the most strength. But you may ask, how far can one go with omnipotent fists? A foolish question. Only cowards measure progress in distance, in achievement. Blood boils through these fingers. That is all I need to know. Ah, I feel the fire raging inside. The storm has arrived, and I shall catch it with my bare hands. Divinity above, I wish you no ill will. but your defeat shall be evidence of my life's work. How recited, I ended the evening's meditation. Decades of such ascetic training had finally borne fruit. I had honed the Eternal Raid style to a godlike edge. But the long years had also revealed to me an enemy I could never defeat. Time itself. My inevitable demise meant there would be no more Eternal Raid style. I would need a disciple, someone worthy of inheriting my technique. Of course, coal is not transformed into diamond so easily. It would be a fool's errand to find a successor who could survive the necessary time and rigor. Thus, when I finally met the captain, I was happy to be that fool. Now I could pass on my legacy. But the captain had another goal in mind, to reach Estalucia and reunite with dear old Papa. Filial piety was a respectable tenet, but it was no god-shattering fist. Despite my pleas, I failed to convince the captain to become my pupil. However, something must have resonated with the young master, because I received an invitation to join the Grand Cypher's crew. If I could not produce a scion of eternal rage, at least I would gain new allies. Walking aboard the airship, my fists buzzed. Ah! Oh, there would be something more to this meeting after all. Worthy Captain, I choose to fight by your side for the glory of the crew, for the glory of reaching Estalucia. And after we return, we shall discuss your future with the Eternal Raid style in earnest.
You heard all the stories about the old man, right?
I could hardly believe my ears. Ripping the Grim Basin apart with a single punch? Joining a war just so he could spar? And defeating both sides? Knocking over a whole mountain just from turning in his sleep? I call BS. And just like crap, there was probably a kernel of truth in there somewhere, but come on, who believes this stuff? Turns out, idiots like me. See, I've actually witnessed Gondagoza smash a meteor into space dust. You think people will catch on to that story, too?
Of course they will. Why else do people go to the pub? Man's favorite pastime is recounting tales of people braver than themselves.
But it's so hard to believe, and I saw him do the damn thing. So, yep, though the old master's legends were numerous, and honestly downright ridiculous, they were also the truth. What's crazier, Gonda would never toot his own horn. After crushing a dragon with a sneeze or what have you, he'd just say, Yep, actions speak louder than words. That's a real man's man for you. You gotta admire that. What I would give for his rippling biceps, though. Looking back now, none of us could have known. There, in the Zeka Grande Skydom, Gondagoza was about to use those rippling biceps to start a whole brand new mythos.
Sierra gave us the news. A lone brawler managed to stop a force of hundreds atop Mount Nagelith, all while quelling a raging blizzard with his bare hands? I'm not a betting man. Well, I'm not a drinking man, but, well, I'm not a man who bets when he drinks, but I'd put good money on our brawler being Gondagoza. It hadn't been that long since we sailed to Zega Grande, so the old badger must have been working overtime for word to spread so quick. I asked Sierra to spill the details. The force he scattered was a group of soldiers, remnants of the Church of Avia, and word was they were specialists in guerrilla warfare. Sure as hell they were a fierce troop. How does an unarmed martial artist take them all out? Not that I could ask the master, because you know what he'd say. But hey, who needs words when you got those defined shoulder blades doing the talking? Guess it was just one more legend for the books.
My dream is to become a hero. I know, kind of stupid, right? I get that you can't just snap your fingers and poof, you're in a cape with your first initial plastered over your chest. But let's face it, the world we live in could really use some heroes. Feels like every day I come across some new, sad story. Where's the harm in wishing for more sunshine? Anyways, I know heroes really do exist. I was saved by one. Well, saved might be an exaggeration, but I was a timid little squirt, and he was always there for me. He was just so darn cool. I wanted to be brave like him. I wanted to protect people like him. Eventually, my hero left our hometown to become a knight. If I was going to follow in his footsteps, then that meant I needed to take up the old helm and armor too. Wasn't sure if a weak crybaby like me would ever amount to much. But hey, whoever changed the future by getting hung up on the past? You probably already figured this out, but this hero I've been talking about? None other than my childhood friend, Lancey. And let me tell you, he's like something out of a fairy tale. Brave, smart, strong. Back in the day, all the grown-ups would call him a prodigy. If it wasn't for him, I might have never become the shining knight of Fiendrock that I am today. But man, I still have a long way to go. I won't stop until I'm the best me I can possibly be. Here's a story from way before I became vice captain of the White Dragons. One day, I was waiting for Lancey at a harbor in Fiendrock. When hours passed and he still didn't show, I started to get nervous. The sound of the surf, which had been super calming until then, turned dark and whispery. Weird, but okay. Snooping around, I found out the true dragon Fafnir had returned. The royal powers that be were putting together a force to beat him. And of course, the person leading it was the captain of the White Dragons, Lancey. My best friend was about to march into the jaws of a literal fire-breathing lizard, and he was gonna do it without me. I couldn't let that happen. In a panic, I started back for the capital. So there I was, rushing along, worried half out of my mind, when I met the Grand Cypher's captain for the first time. Apparently, the crew was also headed for the capital of Fiendrock, so I told him to stick with me. More the merrier, right? Except, I wasn't exactly merry. And the captain could see that. Unable to stand it any longer, I spilled my heart out. I talked about the divide between me and Lancy. About how all I ever wanted was to be there for him, on and off the battlefield. But for every baby step forward I took, Lancy soared. I was weaker than him, ranked lower than him. I wasn't enough. And this whole Fafnir business had just driven everything home. Everyone had immediately gone to Lancy, asking him to lead the way, save the day. On the other hand, I didn't get so much as a backwards glance, so I was just some random foot soldier. But I didn't get to whine when my best friend was out there risking his life. I needed to stop feeling sorry for myself and put in the work so I could start feeling proud instead. Lancy's a born fighter and a genius. He's also human. The pressure on him is crushing. I had to get strong enough to support him. Hearing this, the captain asked if I wanted to join the crew. Of course, I would never quit the White Dragons, but maybe a temporary change in direction was what I needed. I'd run myself into a rut. New scenery, fresh perspective, all part of a healthy breakfast for a growing boy like me. So I took the offer, determined to go back to the White Dragons bigger and better than ever. But I digress. Back to the Fafnir problem. All you really need to know is, it spiraled way out of control. The fate of the kingdom hangs in the balance kind of stuff. Thanks to Lancy and the captain, Fiendrock managed to find its way back to normalcy. And me? I've been changed forever. Though we'd been fighting a dragon, I ended up learning a lot about people. Their strengths, weaknesses, what scared us, made us tick. Had some people pass out of my life and others come into it. My eyes were open to a lot of things, and not all of it pretty. But I'll take it. Because it's the sum of our experiences, the good and the bad, that make us who we are. Fast forward in time, and bam! Your boy Vane's vice captain of the White Dragons. Took big dreaming, a lot of hard work, and a hefty helping of best friend anxiety, but I got there. Now, don't get me wrong, rank, titles, all that stuff's just words, you know? What kid doesn't like getting a gold star? And this was a big, shiny gold star that said, "Congratulations, you're on your way to becoming a hero." Plus, now I got to be part of all the important security meetings. If Lancy needed help, I'd be the first to know. For once, I was feeling pretty confident in myself. Vice captains have it tough, but I was more than happy to do the work. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. After a few months, some nasty rumors began circulating through the barracks. People were saying I got my job through nepotism, just because I was friends with Lancy. It was kind of a dark time. I've been trying to come up with things that I accomplished when I realized there were none. At least, nothing that I'd accomplished on my own. This whole time, I'd just been riding on other people's coattails. The captain, as always, lent me a shoulder to cry on, and we agreed to meet up again in a few days. But when the time came, two, burlier figures were standing beside the captain, Siegfried and Percival. They were there to spar with me and judge, once and for all, if I deserved to be vice captain of the White Dragons. I definitely teared up a little. These were two of the people I looked up to most in the world. They could take whatever I threw at them. My hopes, my insecurities, the lessons I learned. I put everything I had into that battle. And in return, Siegfried and Percival gave me everything they had. Fighting the two of them was as intense as you'd expect. But once I got over my throbbing calves and aching deltoids, I felt really lucky. I had good people looking out for me. They showed me how far I'd come, and I could go the distance. I went back to the castle determined to hide everything from Lancey. He had enough on his plate. But you know how best friends are. Trying to keep secrets from them is like trying to hide an onion in a muffin. He cornered me. So, with nowhere left to run, I spilled the beans. Told him how the rumors had drained my confidence, and I didn't feel good enough to be his vice captain. Or his best bud. I felt horrible. I had the greatest friends in the skies telling me they believed in me. And still, I couldn't believe in myself. Lancey waited for me to get everything off my chest before speaking.
Bane, I recommended you for vice captain because I considered you the most qualified. The motion passed because the king and the White Dragons felt the same way.
And just like that, a weight was lifted. Seems like all I really needed was to know my best friend trusted me. And now that we re-established this trust, there was only one thing left to do. Beat each other silly. We snuck out to the training grounds in the middle of the night and sparred until our legs gave out. Then, we lay spread eagle on the ground, looking up at the stars. Those little twinkling dots were so inspiring. They're out there, a billion miles away. But still, their light manages to reach us. My dream of becoming a hero might be far off. But if the stars can make the trip, so can I. So this next adventure began on a day in Zega Grande like any other. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and I was soaking up some rays after a pleasant morning of grocery shopping. That's when I heard it.
Long live the Blue Sky Knights!
Yes, the fierce cry of a child in its natural habitat. Enough to strike fear into the heart of any warrior.
I've never seen you around here. Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Knights, assemble! Cannonball formation!
They came hurtling at me, faster than the wind. I stood no chance.
We're the Blue Sky Knights, servers of justice and roasters of villains. Who goes there?
But all jokes aside, these tykes were adorable. Reminded me of my own days playing Knights and Dragons. With both hands in the air, I thought long and hard about how to respond. I for sure didn't want to pull out my usual, "I'm Vin, Vice Captain of the White Dragons. I mean, capturing a real knight while playing make-believe could be an awkward sitch for the kids. But it also wouldn't be right to lie. Then, a candle lit up over my head. I'm Vane, the wayfaring chef.
Wait, you're a chef?
That means you're an expert at brewing stews and baking pastries, correct?
I blinked. Hadn't expected such an energetic response. What? Oh yeah, and I've got the proof right here. I pulled out a bag of cookies, which may or may not have been meant for Vern and Lyria, but they'd understand, right? I'll bake them some more. Anyways, passed out the cookies, and in the space of a few bites, the tots were leaping around like it was their birthday. And yes, before you say anything, I do realize that bribing the future defenders of our sky with munchies might not have been the best for character building. But you should have seen their smiles.
You have some potential, Sir Chef. I'll let you cook for us as our square. I'm Skip, by the way, captain of the Blue Sky Knights.
We were on to headhunting already? These kids didn't mess around. I'm honored, Captain Skip. But to tell the truth, I'm kind of busy right now. Oh no. They were hitting me with the pout of despair and the eyes of the puppy dog. I bit my lip. This little game wouldn't take too long, right? Still, it has always been my dream to cook for the Blue Sky Knights. Squire Vane, at your service. I just didn't have it in me to rain on their parade. After dubbing me in a formal ceremony, Captain Skip raised his tiny fist in the air.
We got our chef. Next, we have to search for a base. Split up, soldiers. We meet back here in 1 hour.
The rest of the kids responded with a rousing cheer. And then, they were off.
Hey, Sir Chef, that means you too.
I saluted. Couldn't disobey direct orders from a commanding officer. Anyways, I still had time to spare. I was gonna find these kids the coolest base ever. Okay, I won't let you down. Captain said there's some good spots around here. Just gotta make sure they're safe. Whoops! Looks like this place is already occupied.
Oh my! Door and go! See ya, coward!
dusted. Now, let's look for safer real estate. More monsters. This is definitely not a kid-friendly joint.
Wait for it! Up and away!
That was a workout and a half. I think I might be in monster territory. Man, Clancy and I used to love exploring the woods. It's a party up in here. But it looks like I wasn't.
Link and reach! See ya!
And now that that's over, back to the search. No monsters, perfect size and location? Wait, I think I see a path on the other side of that thicket. I bet it leads to Folka. Captain Skip! I think I found it! I led the kids to a sweet glade I discovered in the woods. It was right next to a big thoroughfare, so they wouldn't have to worry about monsters or getting lost. I mean, if I could find my way back, then anyone could. Still, the place was surrounded by some nifty bushes and trees that shaded it from prying eyes. All in all, I think I did pretty well. And judging from all the frolicking going on, the Tykes agreed. Captain Skip pulled out a handmade flag that he'd apparently just been carrying around and stuck it in the ground.
This land is now the hideout of the Blue Sky Knights!
And sure, the thought, technically knights don't have hideouts, flashed into my mind, but you can't expect kids to know that. Actually, you know what? These Tykes might be onto something. Maybe I should ask Lancey for our own secret base later. Anyway, for the time being, I was in what had to be one of the top 10 hideouts in all the skies. I found a nice, plush patch of moss and plopped down. It was a good day.
day.
I can no longer recall when I first met the captain. All I can say is our paths crossed in dark times, when nights were sleepless, and the wind whispered with insidious intent. Fiendrock, my homeland, was crumbling from within, consumed by the weakness of her own people. I ventured abroad to seek help from our neighbors, but this rendered me blind to schemes hatched in the heart of our court. When I returned, the adders sprung, and I found myself falsely convicted of regicide. Disgraced, I fled the kingdom and wandered for a while in the pathless wild. Perhaps I would still be there, slowly fading into the shadow, had the crew of the Grand Cipher not come for me. The captain never once doubted my innocence, led me back to Fiendrock, and cleared my name. My honor was restored. Thus concluded the greater part of my tale, but the Grand Cipher's myth was just beginning. I joined the crew to see this story unfurl. Our journey, like all great journeys, has passed through both sorrow and joy. We have traversed the wilds, crossed kingdoms forgotten, and met all sorts of folk. I've always found the meeting of people to be miraculous. Throughout the course of history and on into the future, there have been and will be at least as many people as stars in the sky. For any two souls to come together is as wondrous as looking up into the night and seeing your image set against the velvet and winking lights. I do not know if it was fate that brought me and the captain together, but I do know I will never meet such a person again. I intend to sail with the crew to whatever end, even to the bottom of the skies. In my youth, I was vain and headstrong. I shunned the company of others, hurting all who came near me. If I had continued on that path, it's likely I would have died alone, with no one to mourn my loss. But that was not to be. I was discovered by Yosef, the former king of Fiendrock, found, quite literally, by the side of the road. Though at that time, I slew monsters solely out of malice. His Majesty looked at my blade and saw what took life could also save it. He knighted me, and under his guidance, I learned about honor and friendship. I found meaning in existence. But in our world, love is inextricable from grief. New friends and brothers were lost. People that I trusted turned upon me. Loyalty had imbued me with pride. But now, it taught me desperation. Once, this desperation drove me to drink the blood of a dragon. This isn't to say that I regret becoming a knight. Lancelot, Vayne, Percival, the friendship of those three alone is worth any price. I learned the greatest lesson of all from them, that no matter how much is lost, we may always find hope in younger generations. They are what we must fight to defend. They are our purpose, think all this was set into motion by a single meeting on the side of the road. As I grow older, it becomes clearer how much I owe to King Yosef. But I shall never be able to thank him in person again. That is why I swore to repay him in the only way I know how, by dedicating what is left of my life to the future of his country. I know King Yosef would not want me to grieve overly much for him, but he turned me from a vagabond into the captain of the Black Dragon Knights. Under his rule, the base were ennobled, tall towers were raised, and withered fields burst forth into color. He might have done much more, had traitorous hands not cut his life short. The royal consul, Isabella, covetous of his power, killed the king and smeared the guilt of it on me. Unable to prove my innocence, I was forced to flee the capital. For weeks, I was hunted by soldiers I had trained by my own hand, Lancelot foremost among them. My name was now reviled, scrubbed like a stain from the halls of honor. But this caused me little pain, for I never hungered after fame or titles. I served the crown because I loved my country, the same reason for which King Yosef wore it. Even as his body was broken and he lay on the threshold of death, he called only for the mending of Fiendrock. I would not let our home waste away under the shadow of Isabella's ambition. I returned to the Marches, where I dwelled in secret, gathering information. I worked alone, and even Lancelot was kept from my counsels. I did not tell him of my innocence, nor why I sought to cut out the now festering heart of our court. My silence was not due to a lack of trust. It would have been impossible for me to reach Lancelot unseen. Any attempt at communication would likely have ended with my arrest. But even had there been a clear path to Lancelot, I would have kept to myself. Lancelot was and is still young, and young minds are easily molded. If I was to leave the protection of the kingdom to him, I needed to be sure that he was more than just clay, that he had an uncorruptible, ironclad core. I needed to be sure he was not the type to blindly follow orders or emotions. He wavered, as we all do, but fortunately, he was not alone. He had the support of his childhood friend, Vane, and of the Grand Cypher's captain. They were his light and anchor, and with their help, Lancelot navigated the swirling tides of intrigue and arrived at the shores of truth. We were thus reunited, and together delivered Fiendrock from Isabella's clutches. I had fulfilled King Yosef's last wish, and Lancelot had come into his own. It was time for me to step down and place the country in the hands of the young. And so it was that I put the rolling hills and bright walls of my home behind me and embarked on a journey of discovery across the skies. Zega Grande. Another new skydom where the clouds hid unfamiliar tales. My travels aboard the Grand Cipher have taken me to many far-flung places, where I have found that there is yet enchantment in this world. I've sought after magical seashells with the power to heal kingdoms. I've crossed blades with legendary warriors, and I've heard strains of alien music, which, though strange to my ears, still spoke to my heart. But no matter how far I roam, my thoughts are constantly with the country King Yosef left in my keeping. When we alight in a foreign land, I find myself drawn not to gardens or taverns, but to places of law and order. I am ever seeking new allies for Fiendrock and rooting out her enemies. It must seem like I have a mind of cold iron and steel, driven by thoughts of politics and war. And I have no excuse except to say, once a knight, always a knight. Zega Grande had almost fallen under the sway of Avia. Now, as its people rebuilt, I desired to learn whether their fortresses were stronger, and whether any dark shadows still haunted their streets.
What you doing, Siegfried?
Vern appeared at my shoulder one day as I was walking through Seed Hollow. I'm gathering intelligence. The dragon wrinkled his snout.
Man, you're a workaholic.
He wasn't incorrect. I did want to lay aside responsibility and stroll unburdened in the sun, but I couldn't rest easily when duty called.
Hey, what if I help? 2 weeks are better than none.
Vern was indeed light and fast, but I found it easier to scout alone.
Come on. I know how to handle myself.
You certainly do. If anything, I felt that the captain, Lyria, and Vern were strong beyond their years. That they had been forced to grow up too fast. All right, Vern, be my guest.
Finally, something to do. Agent Vern is on the job.
Vern twirled deftly in the air.
So, what exactly is the job? What kind of intelligence you looking for?
It's a little abstract. I would like to learn about the values of this country. Why it was founded, for example, or what would cause its people to go to war. For nations with similar values are often quick allies, but nations with conflicting values find themselves enemies.
Yeah, I'm totally following.
Take Fiendrock, for example. Our king and people stand for fellowship and peace. If we were to find out that the leaders of Seed Hollow, on the other hand, favored conquest and power, then we might expect trouble.
What, kind of trouble are we talking here?
Don't worry. I gave Vern what I hoped was a reassuring smile. I am not here to conduct a coup. I only seek information to bring back to Fiendrock, which may help in matters of diplomacy.
Diplomacy? Well, that's way above my pay grade. Aw, dude, I think something just happened over by the gate. I see a bunch of soldiers running that way.
With two flaps of his wings, Vern lifted himself higher into the air and hovered, squinting against the glare of the sun. Seed Hollow's military force. This may be worth looking into. Come.
Right behind you.
A group of onlookers had gathered by the gate, speaking in loud, excited voices.
A monster hunt, huh?
Let us follow them. We may learn something useful. Nothing is so revealing of a person's nature as their deeds in battle. We passed out of the stone city and trudged for a while among grass and dirt paths. Or rather, I did, while Vern rode the winds beside me. Suddenly, he let himself rise on an updraft.
Spotted them! They're going at it!
As he spoke, I became aware of distant cries and the clash of arms. Let's see here. I crept beneath the shadow of dappling leaves and up a small knoll for a better look.
I don't think they can win this thing!
The warriors of Seed Hollow were many, and their faces grim with determination. And yet...
Captain, we can't hold out much longer! Stand your ground. If these monsters get past us, it's the lives of your friends and family.
They were scattered, weak, and on the brink of disaster. Vern, I'm going to their aid. With that, I grasped the hilt of my sword and burst from the cover of the trees.
We gotta hold on!
They're moments away from annihilation. We must leap down and ambush the goblins. Goblins, come and face me!
The hell are you? Get out of here! This is no place for civilians!
With all due respect, you are not in a position to reject my aid. Focus on keeping yourself safe.
All right, fine. That sword of yours better not just be for show.
How is he mowing down all these half-beasts?
Let our blade.
Your end is nigh!
This is power!
Push through!
He's dancing circles around the half-beasts. Yeah, I can see that. Stop gawking and tend to the wounded.
We're gonna make it.
Heads up! Got monsters coming in from above!
Don't mistake mercy for weakness.
Bear whip! Taste of me! This is power!
Push through! The next wave is coming. Quickly, get to safety.
Bad news. Goblin soldier marching this way.
There's no way he can handle that alone. Who's still got juice in them? Back into the fray!
No, stay put. We'll not be able to win with you as a burden.
Great!
Not feeling our hit!
This is power! Push through! This is power!
Work!
Push through!
Cleared them out!
You are all safe now.
I can't believe my eyes. Is that guy really human?
We could have handled them alone. You know we could have. Think of how hard we've trained.
The cry of the last monster faded to nothingness, and I sheathed my sword.
Oh, man! They're lucky we got here in the nick of time!
Danger averted, Vern drifted to my side.
Well met, Skyfarers.
The soldiers from Seed Hollow gathered themselves and limped to form ranks. At their head, a man I believed was their captain stood, frowning at us.
You guys
guys must be dying to thank us. I take payment in apples, by the way.
Vern wasn't quite reading the mood.
So you know your way around a sword. Great. We appreciate the help and all, but could you not interfere with official military business?
What?
We're professional soldiers. We can handle monsters without you swinging in to save the day.
Number one, that's a lie. Number two, what's with the attitude?
That's enough, Vern. The dragon looked ready to spout fire. Hoping to calm him, I caught him and held him in my arms. I'm sorry. We mean no disrespect. With a bow, I turned and left that shadowy glade. I did not relax my grip on Vern because I felt certain that if I let go, he would flip back and spit venom in the soldiers' faces.
Good day. Please come again.